So the Colorado Supreme Court has decided to remove Donald Trump from the ballot. I'm not going to get too excited about this just yet because I do realize this will probably go up before the Supreme Court. And when it does, they are heavily stacked in Donald Trump's favor. But I do believe that this is a really good step in the right direction to finally holding these insurrectionists accountable for what they've done, because the Colorado Supreme Court has determined that Donald Trump did in fact engage in an insurrection. And according to the 14th Amendment, that's enough to disqualify him from the ballot. There's a whole lot of people out there saying, well, wait a minute, he's not been found guilty yet. The 14th Amendment doesn't say has to be. It says it has to be determined that he has engaged in insurrection, and he has. They've also determined that when he called upon the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, that's not protected by the First Amendment. When he questioned the results of the election, that's not protected by the First Amendment. When he told people to go to the Capitol and fight like hell, all of those things are not protected under the First Amendment. But Donald Trump has been trying to spin this in his favor. He's been trying to muddy the water and distort the argument, and he's got a whole lot of people out there believing what he says. He's tried to say that what he said was freedom of speech. He's tried to say that he didn't actually take an oath to support the Constitution. He's tried to say that the office of president isn't an actual office of the United States, and he wasn't an officer of the United States. He's tried to say that he is immune from prosecution because he's president, which makes no sense to me. If he's immune as president, why are they going after Joe Biden? But if you take a look at the Amendment 14, Section 3, and I'm going to read this one more time. This ain't the first time I've read it in a video. It won't be the last. I'm going to continue to say this to all these people out there that wants to call themselves constitutionalists, call themselves patriots. Let me say this one more time. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who having previously taken an oath, or as a member of Congress, or as an officer of the United States, or as a member of any state legislature, or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. I am just a poor hillbilly from East Tennessee, and I can see just how plain that is. That was first ratified July 9th, 1868. And that was put into place because they wanted to ensure that someone like Jefferson Davis and someone like Robert E. Lee didn't ever get to run for president or hold any office. So they made it very clear right there in Section 3 of Amendment 14. They made it really clear that no one who's engaged in a rebellion should ever hold any office. And I would argue that not only did Donald Trump engage in a rebellion then, I would argue that he's still engaging in one right now as we speak. Because these MAGA Republicans have said out loud that they would like to secede from the Union. They have said out loud that if you're a Democrat and move to their state, you shouldn't be allowed to vote for so many years. They have said out loud that they shouldn't have to bend to the will of democracy. Donald Trump has said out loud that he wants to be dictator on day one. So I would argue that they are still rebelling. And for the people out there that says, well, what about just having a fair election? Just let Joe Biden beat him in a fair election. Joe Biden did beat him in a fair election. And he doesn't get the opportunity to be in a fair election again because he engaged in insurrection and he engaged in rebellion. And I don't even see how the MAGA Republicans could really argue with the rebellion part because they've been rebelling this entire time. And there's a whole lot of people out there that says, well, how's MAGA going to react to this? What are we going to do? How are they going to react to it? I don't care how they react to it. I don't give two shits if it hurts their feelings. This is the fuck your feelings crowd. I don't care if it hurts their feelings because our democracy is on the line here. They're trying to spin it that we're trying to take away democracy because we won't let an insurrectionist on the ballot. We're saying we're trying to protect democracy by not allowing an insurrectionist on the ballot. I don't care how MAGA reacts. I don't care if they get upset. I don't care what they try to do. They failed at an insurrection once, and if they're stupid enough to try it again, they'll fail again. I know they lay in bed at night and they have these wet dreams of rebellion. I know they lay in bed at night and they think that 1776 will commence. I understand all of that. But it's a fantasy in their little minds that they're never going to live out and they're never going to win. And so I don't care how they react to it, and I don't care what they have to say or do next, because we are on the right side of history here, and I applaud the Colorado Supreme Court for standing up for democracy and for determining what we all saw that happened right in front of our faces. I just really hope that the Supreme Court would do the same. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one because I realize that the game is stacked in his favor in that department. But, here's the thing. When you start saying that this president has immunity and that he's allowed to do all these things and he's allowed to engage in insurrection, I don't know if you guys have really thought this one through, but you're saying to the Democrats that it's okay for them to do it. So if you go ahead and give Donald Trump a pass here and say he's immune and say he's allowed to engage in insurrection and still be on the ballot, then a Democrat could do the exact same thing and you all gave him permission to do it. I really don't think that they've thought through any of these arguments. I think they're just so caught up in their feelings and so caught up in their emotions and so caught up in their desire to be the victor in this story that they're just not seeing clearly. Every day I just see a bunch of lost balls and high weeds in my comment sections that are trying to find a way to spin this in their favor. There is no spinning it in your favor. I don't care. Well, what are you going to do when the Supreme Court rules against it? I'm going to say the Supreme Court was wrong. So, I think people needs to really start thinking this through. When you've got a group of people saying they want to secede, when you've got a group of people saying they don't believe in democracy, that it's just a myth, it's just an idea, when you got people saying I want to be a dictator on day one, it's time to take them seriously and realize not only did they engage in insurrection and rebellion then, they're still doing it. So, no, they shouldn't be on the ballot, none of them.